Alright, next up we have Medic. And first up we got Medic's Grenade. Medic's Grenade is easy S tier, it's the best grenade in the game. Heals you, heals allies, does decent damage to smaller things, clears them up. You can also apply all the buffs that Medic gets with it. It's really good. You can apply them to yourself too. You can put this on a welded door and just kill everything on the outside of it. It's pretty dumb how strong Medic Grenades are, and you also can't hurt yourself with them. They're amazing. Medic Pistol, for Medic, is probably like B or A tier. I think A tier. Medic Pistol's pretty good because it weighs so little. You can heal with it. You get a ton of bullets with it. It's super cheap to refill. It actually scales really well with upgrades. It goes up to like 60 damage a shot at max rank, and it only weighs like 4. It's really strong on basically every class, though, if you want to take this as an off-perk weapon, and Medic weapons just kind of have that effect since you can heal with them. It's also really good on Survivalists if you want to take it. Medic Grenades are really good on Survivalists too if you want to take them. They're probably S tier, and this is probably an A or an S tier for Survivalist. This thing's definitely an S tier off-perk weapon. It's just that Medic has some other Medic weapons that they might want to take over, which is why I put it to A tier. Medic SMG is kind of in a similar spot to Medic Pistol, and I'll also throw it up into A tier. Pretty good. It's lightweight, it only weighs 3, does good damage per second, clears up crowds really easily, doesn't do well against big things, but that's okay, you're not going to be using it for that. And it can heal, super useful. Also, probably A or S tier on Survivalist for all those same reasons. Then we have the Heal Thrower, which recently got nerfed again. It actually got nerfed pretty heavily in terms of its damage. That being said, it's still probably S tier because it doesn't matter how much damage the Heal Thrower does. That's not the reason why you're taking the Heal Thrower. The Heal Thrower is mostly used because you get 2 medic weapons in one. You get the healing gas and the healing darts, and you can apply multiple healing effects onto allies. That just makes it really strong. It still kills small stuff really fast. It's just not good for killing big things, which I don't know of a whole lot of people that did that unless you're going full poison medic. This is still going to be like Medic's strongest weapon just for applying buffs, and that's mostly what you're going to do with it. This is going to be like your support tool. Then you can take whatever the heck you want as a secondary. You can take a high damage weapon like a kaboom stick and just clear through everything. Just use that for flesh pounds and crowds if your team starts getting overwhelmed, and then just use this to heal up everybody. It's insane how strong that combo is. Survivalist, this is far less. It's not nearly as good as these other 2 weapons. This is probably like C tier, because you can't apply multiple healing buffs. It is still 2 healing weapons in one, but it's not going to be as good, not for the weight. We should probably talk about the shotgun now. Shotgun's probably not S tier for Medic. It's probably like A tier. I'm still going to keep it here because I'm going to keep the weapons at their highest spot that they are once we're talking about them. But it's probably a little bit lower. It does good damage. It fires fast. Holds a lot of bullets. It's just overall really good. Doesn't weigh that much either, so you can pair it with whatever. And again, it's really strong on Survivalist. Emo Goblin is probably another S tier weapon. This one's insanely strong, especially for boss wave. It has really good healing darts. It has more healing darts and better healing darts than most other weapons for some odd reason. The syringes on it are really good because they apply debuffs to anything that you hit. They cause them to bleed, which deals like 4 times extra damage to robots for some odd reason. Really good on boss wave, really good for just weakening flesh pounds and scrapes for your teams to clear up really easily. It's also really good on Survivalist too if you want to take it. I'd probably say it's like A tier. Still a little bit clunky with its weight, but if you want a weapon for nerfing enemies and still doing really well in its healing role, the Emo Goblin's a really good choice. Then we have the Mine Reconstructor, which just got buffed again for some odd reason. Mine Reconstructor, I'm going to put B tier. It's an awkward and weird weapon that only really works on enclosed maps, and even then, it can still be kind of situational. It can be really good if you just make a giant minefield and allies can run through it and get healed, or enemies run through it and they just die and then allies are also getting healed. It can be really strong. If you have time to set it up, it can be good, but it weighs a lot. It's not great on big open maps, so if you're playing a lot of custom maps, this one's not super amazing. And it doesn't make for a great weapon. It's more for a supportive tool that you just kind of toss these out everywhere, and then you can pair this with something like the Heal Thrower so that you can just constantly spray allies with it. That's a pretty strong combination if you just want to be full support and take advantage of certain maps. Other maps, not that great. On Survivalist, this is probably one of the weaker weapons for Medic. I would probably put this C tier. It's not that good on them. Then we have the HRG Incision. This is the railgun for Medic. This one's pretty good. This one I'm going to put A tier. It does high damage. Its darts are actually really useful to where you can actually do respectable damage with it. The other darts you can technically do damage with, but they don't really do that much. They kind of poison over time, and you might get some value out of it, but not usually. The Incision's different. You can hit and kill things pretty effectively with it. Its regular shot does a lot of damage. You can also fire the healing darts through anything into allies. So if you want to be an offensive medic, this one's actually a pretty good option. I would recommend you pair it with something defensive, like the Heal Thrower or like the Medic SMG, so that you can clear up crowds and then still heal allies pretty effectively. but the Incision, pretty good. I like it. Survivalist isn't that good. I'd probably put it like C tier for them. It's still a healing weapon, which is nice, but it weighs a lot and it costs a lot, and if you want a sniper rifle, there's better snipers than this one, so not really a great option there. Then we have the Vampire. Vampire is C tier. Vampire is in an awkward spot, same with the Mine Reconstructor. You have to suck the blood out of Zeds, then you have to fire the ball at allies or enemies, have it splatter, heal allies, or kill enemies, and that's kind of awkward. It does have the bleed effect, so it does weaken enemies similar to the Emo Goblin, but you have to be right up close to stuff, which isn't too bad for Medic, but it's still a little bit awkward. Its secondary fire is pretty strong, but you only get 5 shots at most with it before you have to refill it. Then you can fire out ice crystals or blood crystals that do high damage and are pretty accurate. They can also pierce through multiple things, but this one's such a weird and awkward weapon. It's okay on certain maps, and it's actually pretty good if you're just playing solo Medic because it does a lot of damage. But if you're playing like in a team, it's very weird and awkward, and I don't use it very often in teams. For Survivalist, it's even worse. I would probably say this one's also C tier. It's a very awkward weapon to use for all the same reasons, and if you want a healing weapon, there's generally better options for you than this one. Then we have the Medic Missile. This one is the RPG for Medic, and this one's not that great either. It sounds pretty awesome, but honestly, it's pretty situational too. I'm also going to put it B tier. It does good damage per shot. You can heal at the actual impact, but you don't have any way of targeting with it. I think it still has the backblast like the regular RPG does. It weighs a decent amount, and it's just an awkward weapon, especially since you can't get heals out fast with this. At best, you have everybody clump up in one area, hit them with this, and then heal them. And most teams aren't going to be clumped up like that, at least on most maps. Certain maps you kind of have to do that, like if you're playing Catacombs or something, but most maps you're going to be fairly open. And for a weapon, it's just kind of okay. If you want something like this, it's honestly probably better just to take the RPG and put it on Medic. And the Medic Missile is also weird on Survivalist. I'd put it lower, like C or D tier. It's not very good. Then we should talk about the Medic ARs again. 401's really good on Medic. I'd probably put this A or S tier. It's really good. Does good damage. Holds a lot of shots. Can heal pretty well. Good for clearing up small things. That's what Medic really likes to do. And it's really good if you want to pair it with like the Medic Shotgun or the Emo Goblin. Fantastic option there. Still a decent option for Survivalist. If you want a Medic AR, it's probably like A or B tier for them. Kind of the same thing goes with 501. 501 is probably A or S tier for Medic as well. You can shoot out the healing grenades, which is super nice because then you can have double the healing grenades, or actually more than double the healing grenades. Still okay for killing small and medium things. Doesn't kill big things super quick, but that's fine. Still pretty good on Survivalist too. Kind of weighs a lot, kind of costs a lot, but healing grenades are amazing. And then we also have the Hemoclobberer too, which is a cross-perk weapon between Medic and Berserker. This one is also pretty decent on Medic, not as good as it is on Berserker and Survivalist. It's definitely S tier on them. For Medic, it's like A or B tier. You don't have a whole lot of attack speed with this. The healing isn't that great since that's been nerfed, so it's not really that great of a weapon to be taking for the team. For Medic, it's better for yourself and for solo play, and it still is lightweight though, and it's not super expensive, so I'd still probably say it's like A or B tier for them, but S tier for the other options. Of course, S tier for Survivalist because it's a melee weapon. You can run around fast with it. You can get a bigger AoE with it. Super cheap, super lightweight. And then our last Medic weapon is the Corruptor Carbine. Corruptor Carbine for Medic is probably like A tier as well. It's similar to like the Incision. It's pretty decent. The secondary fire on it is very awkward, and it takes time to get used to because you fire out a parasite, I believe. I think that's what it's actually called. Into either an enemy or an ally. If you hit an ally directly with it, it'll heal them. If you hit an enemy with it, it'll stick in them, and then once you kill them, or once that enemy is killed, it then basically ruptures them like a healing grenade. Doesn't have nearly as much AoE as like a healing grenade, but it can do well against crowds. It can heal allies if enemies are getting close. It's a pretty decent sniper rifle. It does good damage per shot, and it upgrades well. And for Survivalists, this one's actually pretty decent too. You can be a sniper with it. It does good damage. The parasite's still pretty good. I might rank it a little bit lower, like B tier, because of the weight. And you don't get any bonuses to it. Well, no, you would get bonuses because it counts as a sharpshooter weapon too. So that is kind of an extra nice thing about it.